Hello friends, welcome back to Digitalk. In this session, I am going to cover the introduction to Terraform, what exactly Terraform, why we use the Terraform, and with the execution, I will show you where I will create some resources in the AWS cloud with the help of Terraform. So this video is specifically for a beginners to give a small introduction or overview, okay, on what exactly is Terraform. Okay, so very soon we are going to launch a detailed course in our digital academic course as well on the Terraform. Okay, and but in this series, we will post multiple videos. Okay, to give you an end-to-end overview of the complete Terraform. Okay, so now what exactly is a Terraform? So Terraform is defined as an infrastructure as a code tool. And now what exactly is the infrastructure as a code tool? It is a tool that we use for managing and provisioning the IT infrastructure using code instead of manual process. So if we talk about the process of provisioning the softwares and hardware, specifically in traditional way in our on-premise systems, okay. So what we do, we buy the different kind of a hardware, we install it in our data center, and then we configure the different kind of a softwares and resources in our hardwares, right? But now specifically, if we talk about a Terraform, which has been specifically designed or mostly used for the provisioning of the cloud resources. That means specifically if you would like to create some machines or some networking configurations or any kind of storage or any kind of a configuration on the cloud, whether it is a AWS cloud, Google cloud, IBM cloud, Oracle cloud. Okay, so for that we use a Terraform. So that we don't need to manually log into the cloud console, and then we don't need to create uh, all these kind of components manually. Okay, so everything we can do with the help of Terraform tool. So for that, we need to understand what exactly is Terraform, and there is some specifications when we define the different kind of a parameters in different kind of a configuration files in the Terraform. Okay, that you need to understand, that you have to learn. Okay, and after that, you can define the different kind of a resources that you want to create in the cloud, specifically in certain configuration files. Okay, and then using that particular configuration files, we execute the Terraform code. Okay, which automatically create the resources for you in the cloud. Okay, so that means we don't need to execute anything, any step manually by logging to the cloud console. And this is not specific to the cloud only. You can use it for provisioning of some on-premise hardwares and some other tools and technologies as well. Okay, for that you have to use a certain kind of a plugins. Okay, but mostly if you see the Terraform, okay, it will be mostly you will see the utilization or the use of this Terraform will be in the provisioning of the cloud infrastructure resources only. Okay, so now we have few more tools apart from Terraform for this provisioning. We have Terraform, CloudFormation, Ansible, Puppet, Chef. These are the different alternates that mostly used in the DevOps for the complete end-to-end provisioning or automation of the infrastructure. Okay, now specific to Terraform, the Terraform is an open source infrastructure as a code tool. That means it is an open source tool which you can freely download in your system, and you can use that one for the provisioning. And it is developed by the HashiCorp. Okay, and it allow you to define and managing your infrastructure such as server, network, storage using human readable configuration files. So as I said, we have to create multiple configuration files where we specify the different configurations that I'm going to show you in this session. Okay, and then we execute Terraform using those particular configuration files for provisioning of the resources. Okay, so let me show you. So when we create different kind of a configuration files in Terraform, okay, so we have a different kind of a files, and then there is a specific purpose of each and every file. So when we create these files, we save it with the extension of .tf for is a notation for the Terraform. Okay, so some important configurations files are main.tf, variable.tf, terraform.tf output.tf, and providers.tf. Okay, the meaning of each and every file, the purpose of each and every file is clear from the name as well. This is the main Terraform file. As I said, we have a multiple Terraform files that we have to define. Okay, in the Terraform. So, but along with all these configuration files, which we have a one main Terraform file. Okay, from where you can say we are calling the other multiple Terraform files. So this is the main Terraform files. Okay. Along with that, we have a variables, the Terraform files. That means if you would like to create certain kind of a resources in the cloud, okay. So we need to provide certain kind of a variables. For example, if you are creating any instance on the AWS cloud, then you may need to provide the name of your instances, in which region you want to create your instances, what is the in which VCN you want to create your instance. So these kind of a variables we can define with the help of variables.tf file. Okay, and along with that we have a Terraform.tf where file where we actually define the different kind of a parameter values. Then we have a output.tf. That means when we execute the Terraform, okay, for example, if it is creating a virtual machine on the cloud, then after the creation of a virtual machine, there are a lot of parameters that has been associated with the particular machine. For example, once the machine is created, the machine will be assigned a private IP. It will also assign a DNS. It will also assign a public IP. Right. So now after creating the instance, you would like to use that particular the metadata of the instances for some other purpose. So that details you can get in the output.tf files. Okay, and similarly, this is the provider. So which provider you are going to use? For example, it may be AWS, it could be cloud, Google Cloud, it could be IBM, Oracle Cloud. So that we define in the providers.tf file, right? So how we create the different kind of a resources, how we define it in the Terraform file. Okay, so this is the provider.tf file. So as I said, in this file, we have to define the providers, which cloud provider you are going to use for the Terraform. So here you can see that provider we have defined as AWS, and in which region, the region for region we have defined where.aws.region. Okay, so this is the variable. Okay, and this variable we are going to define in the variable.tf file. Okay, and the actual values will be defined in the tf var file. Right. So this is the file for the region which we define the AWS provider. Then we have a variable.tf file. So what all different kind of a variables that we are going to call in our main file. So here we are just defining the different kind of a parameters or variables. So the first variable is AWS underscore region. Second is VPC underscore ID. Third is subnet underscore ID. Then AMI underscore ID. Then instance underscore type. Then key underscore name. So these are the different kind of a, variables that we need when we are going to create a virtual machine. Like in which region you want to create the virtual machine, in which VPC you would like to create, in which subnet you want to create, what is the associated AMI ID? So we have a different kind of images in the AWS, like we have a different kind of images for the Linux, Windows, and some other operating systems. So there is a corresponding ID for that. So what is the ID of the AMI that you would like to attach to your instance? What is the instance type? So we have a different kind of instances in the cloud. Okay, what is the type of instance? And then what is the key? So that key which we use to log into the instance. So these are the details we provide when we log into the console and then we create it manually, right? For example, this is the AWS console. If I go to create the virtual machine manually, I have to go to EC2 console. Inside the EC2 console, I have to launch an instance, right? And once I will launch an instance, so here we have to provide the different kind of inputs. What is the name of the machine? What is the OS that you would like to have installed? And this is the Amazon AMI. Which AMI you would like to choose for this one. Okay, and there's an associated AMI ID, right? So all these values, whatever we are selecting from the console, so every detail we have to provide here in the configuration file, right? And once the variables, whatever the variables are we have defined here, okay, then we need the values of each and every parameter or every input that we are defining in the variable file. These values we define with the help of tfvar file, terraform.tfvar. So here you can see AWS region we have defined Northeast. VPC ID, this is the VPC ID we have defined. Subnet ID, this is the subnet ID in which I want to create my machine. This is the AMI ID, which we are going to use to create a machine. Instant type is T2.micro. And what is the T2.micro? So here, if I go here and I will show you, this is the instance type. Okay. So if we go with T2.micro, the configuration we are going to get one virtual CPU, 1 GB of memory. Similarly, you have a different kind of a machines based on your requirement. Correct? And this is the name of key which we are going to utilize for login to our machine. You have to give the name of your key here. So these are the different kind of input that we have to provide. Okay, and the corresponding values of each and every variable will be called using this variable.tf file. So here you can see AWS region, which we have defined in the providers file. Then VPC ID, subnet ID, AMI ID, the corresponding values are defined here in the terraform.t4 batch, right? And now this is the main.tf file. This is the main file which is going to call all of these files and parameters and values. So here we have defined AWS instances or AWS instance, okay, as a resource, and this is the variable that we are going to call here, okay, and this is a tag which we are going to attach to our instance. So this is a way, this is a high level overview of how we work with the Terraform. Okay, so this session is specifically to give you a small overview what exactly is Terraform, how we work on that, how we define the different configuration files. Okay, and the detailed sessions will be posted later on that. Okay, on each and every section. So similarly, we have an output.tf file. For example, as I said, we are creating a virtual machine. My virtual machine is created, and there is a corresponding instance ID and a public IP has been assigned. So after creating the machine, you can take that value and store in a different variables. Okay, for further processing. Okay, maybe you would like to do certain kind of a other processing in your instance. For that, you need the public IP or may you need the instance ID. So you can store it in a variable and then you can utilize this one further. Right. So once your files are configuration files are defined, you have to initialize the Terraform. Okay. So initializer means Terraform init. This is a command that is due to initialize. Okay. And by initializing this, the project by downloading require provider plugins and setting up the backend for state management. So it does a lot of internal processing. Okay. By downloading certain kind of files which is required. Okay. During the initialization. And then we execute the plan. Okay, this plan is just an execution before actually applying the plan. Okay, that means Terraform plan hyphen out, create an execution plan and save it to a file. So that means it will create an execution plan and it will save it to a file so that you can review it before applying the changes. Okay, so once you are ensured that everything is good, then you can apply the configuration with the help of Terraform apply and the name of the plan that we have created here with the help of Terraform plan during the planning phase, right? So this is the first command that you need to execute. This is the second command, which is for to create a plan, generate the plan, and this is to apply. So once all this executed successfully, after that you can able to see your resources from the web console. Okay, so here what we have given, we are just creating a virtual machine, right? So let me show you with the execution as well, so that you can some get the real time feel how exactly it works. So this is the location where I have downloaded and installed the Terraform. It's just a zip file, okay? You don't need any kind of installation. Just download and extract the Terraform, okay? And it is ready to work, right? So first what we need to do, we need to initialize the Terraform. So for that, you need to run the command Terraform init. Okay, so with the help of this, it is going to initialize the Terraform. You can see the initializing the backend and initializing provider plugins. Okay, so it will take some time. So we are going to use this for the AWS. So it is looking for some AWS corresponding AWS cloud resources. Okay, for initializing the Terraform. And if you are using some different cloud service providers, then you will see the name here. Right, and you can see Terraform has been successfully initialized. So second, I am going to execute the plan, or I'm going to generate the plan. So this will just generate the plan for the review. Okay, but it will not going to apply. So we can review this plan, and if we feel that everything is good, then we actually apply this plan, which will create the resources. Right. So now you can see that Terraform will perform with the following actions. AWS instance.web will be created. Okay, and these are the resources that we are going to create. Okay, you can review all the configurations here. Whatever we have provided in the configuration file, it will take based on that only. What is the subnet ID? What is the instance type? What will the AMI it is going to use? These are the configurations that you can use. Okay, and if you go to the location, then you will see that this TF plan file is created. This is the plan that has been generated with the help of this command. Now we are good that for the execution, so we can run the command Terraform apply TF plan. Okay, so let me copy this one. And before execution, let me show you here what exactly I have right now in my cloud machine. So this is the instances. So you can see that I have only one instance here with the name of DB node, nothing else. So now I'm going to execute this one to create the instance in the AWS cloud with the help of all the configuration file that we have created. So these are the different configuration files, which what I was talking about. This is a provider file. This is your variable file. This is your Terraform that variable input files. This is your main file, and this is your output file, right? So now you can see that it has been plan has been executed successfully. You can see here that instance is creating, right? Instance is creation successful. Apply complete resource added one. This is the instance ID. Okay. So now if I go to console and if I refresh here, let me go to EC2 and then instances. Okay. Now you can see the instance has been created. The instance type is t2.micro. The name of Terraform hyphen EC2. Okay. It is in an initializing state. And now you can see the machine is up and ready. It is running. Right. So this is the way how we use a Terraform, okay, and how we create a machine. So similarly, here I have just created a one virtual machine. You can create any kind of a resources which is in the cloud. Only thing you have to learn the different kind of a specifications, different kind of a configuration files that we create in Terraform. What is the syntax of that one? How we define the different kind of a variables, okay, and then how to execute, how to initialize the Terraform, how we create or generate the plan, and then how we can apply the plan. Right? Thank you.